Roll up.
Roll up. Morning glory. Here we are in Los Angeles, Big E viewers. Now, kind of like LA, you can have a background like that and it looks great one way, or you can turn the other way in Los Angeles and nasty old back alley, just like anywhere else in the world, and that's the truth of the place. Right, now the guy we're going to see today is mucho interesting, and he's a bit of a mystery. I spent 6 hours with this guy trying to get to the bottom of his identity and what he's about, and you're going to have just 6 minutes to find out what Bob Dobbs is about. Bob Dobbs claims to be 71 years old, and you can make up your own mind, and he has an amazing philosophy on life called mediacology, and here's his backyard at 2427.5 Glendon Avenue, Santa Monica, and we're going to go and find out. Hello, Bob Dobbs.
Hey, what's going on?
This is the interview. This is Kevin, who's just walking into the tree.
Kevin.
Everybody, this is the 71-year-old Bob Dobbs. Bob, tell me, when were you born?
February 2nd, 1922.
Making you a lot older than me.
Yes.
And you look younger.
You're about 38?
Very correct.
Yes.
Very correct. Now, tell us what's going on, and we've got a couple of things out here. I want the viewers to see. Electricity killed humanity.
And then simultaneity, which is electricity, saved humanity.
Right. Now, I'm still lost. I've told the viewers that I spent 6 hours with you guys trying to figure out exactly what your philosophy. Now, Bob's media ecology there, and everything's disappeared, locked down Bob rule and bypass captivity. Now, you ask us to say we should drop, just sporadically, technology, right?
No. You see, if we go over to this
See,
sign,
I told you, I still don't understand.
Yeah.
Right, this sign over here.
at electric information speeds, art, science, and nature converge through understanding media. Understanding media should be understanding Bob. Now, since our new clothing is the mixed corporate media, which is radio, satellite, telephone, computer, in simple terms, I think that we exist in a situation, a global Esperanto, which is the simultaneous electric experience that all cultures and all individuals and all parts of nature share. Bob's media ecology is to point this out, since I'm the one with the most appropriate complex clairvoyance to deal with the effects of this fact that we share this global Esperanto. So it needs to be orchestrated. So I suggest we turn off this mixed corporate media environment. I think we could begin by focusing on television for a short while, since that's kind of just secondary furniture in most people's houses nowadays in the West. It would not interfere too much, but once we observe the effects of a media fast of television for, say, 3 months, then we can decide what we want to do with telephone, computer, and satellites. So that's the opening...
Abstinence from electric media.
Yes, for a short while. But we couldn't turn it all off because so much of the world depends on it. The whole world depends on it, so we just focus on television for a while.
Now, you used to have your own radio show in Canada for about 7 or 8 years, is that right?
From 87 to 91, so 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
So, what, you used to espouse this philosophy over the radio?
Yes. It was the first time anybody in the discarnate population, which is every inhabitant of this planet who is electrified by the media in their immediate environment, plus inside the satellite environment, which is an electric simultaneous environment. It is the first time it has ever been explained to people of the consequences of that via electric media. Mm-hmm. So I did it through radio, and now I'm doing it through this medium in this particular case.
Right, now, I've got to come over here, guys. Right, this is all live, fresh TV we got here. Now, would you like to introduce who we got sitting here, Bob, please?
Well, that's Jerry, who is a hanger-on, but also very
nice.
important in public relations if the task befalls him in his daily walk of life. And in the background is Connie Dobbs, my wife.
Hi, Connie. Now, Connie, how old are you?
I'm 70. I'm younger.
Just younger?
Yeah.
Right, now tell me, because I know the viewers are going, hey, this is weird. Tell us, before the plane even approaches, how do you account for your youthful looks at 71 years of age? Because I try to find chinks in your story, right? And short of you giving me your passport, which I'm going to ask you to do, actually,
Yep.
tell us how you account for this.
I would say that the main cause is the incredible slack that I've accumulated over my 70 years on the planet. But the extra thing that makes me, in facial terms, look very young is the D-cell, which is a water purifier and energizer, I stress energizer, there are several good products on the market that purify water, but they don't energize them with some antimatter, which slows down the aging process.
And when did you start taking? We're going to see some D-cell water.
Yes.
When did you start drinking this stuff?
In '69.
Right now, who started D-cell? Who invented it or found it?
A man named Brown, who did it in the late 40s, early 50s, and then was passed on to another person, but the man that I know of through it was Joe Dunn Sloan.
Right now, is Joe Dunn Sloan still alive?
No.
Right. So how do you keep getting hold of this D-cell water?
Well, Joe was very generous and gave us a huge stockpile years ago, and they last for a long time. You just have to put them in the water, or put them in the sun, put them in the water, and then say every 3-4 months, put them in the sun for 24 hours, they get re-energized. So Joe used to call it the immortal D-cell. So let's say we've got 200, we've only used 25 of them.
Right, now this isn't commercially available?
No.
Right. And you wouldn't be prepared to sell any to anybody?
No, you'd have to sort of become a very intimate member of my activities in the Secret Council 10 before you had access to it.
Right,
Now there's a man, Jerry does have access to it.
Jerry, how long have you been taking D-cell water, Jerry?
I've been drinking D-cell water since '88, and I find it energizing me. But, you know, I have a question for Bob. I've got 122 tapes of Bob talking on the radio. How am I going to be able to consume this knowledge by turning off my radio?
That's a very good point. Well, before we get to that, right?
Well, shouldn't I answer that?
No, we'll make the viewers wait, and we'll get Bob to go and get some D-cell water. It's the first time on world television that you've actually admitted this and your age. And have you got your driver's license or passport? Because I told you the other day I want to see the passport.
Yeah. See, I don't deal in visual space. When you're, and I've done this for 40 years, been involved with Secret Council 10, I have what's on the popular level called a diplomatic immunity. I don't need any papers in the circuit I use. So I never have any ID. It's like Krishnamurti.
So you can't produce a passport or an ID?
No, I haven't had one in 25 years. I don't have any papers. Visual space, even though I advocate the recognition of the effects of visual space, and I emphasize Finnegan's Wake for that. If you want a passport to the global Esperanto, it's to study the effects of reading Finnegan's Wake. But my main reality I deal with is the discarnate electric effects. So
you don't have any proof or disproof of your birth or age that we could see.
No, and that sounds hokey, but it's a fact. But here's the thing. The way I work with my helicopters, my private transportation system, is that I can jam any surveillance on borders. So I can move around the planet with incredible porousness.
So you say your helicopters, but we'll come back to that. Jerry's got some D-cell water.
Here, why don't you hold it up?
Right, now, you allow me to hold, what?
Is there one in there?
Yeah, that's how they sit in the bottom.
Two of them.
You can see this? Now what is this tablet made of that gives you longevity?
It is made of the earthly plant materials that are put in water. You percolate this substance called the D cell, this cell which you see through a microscope, and when it forms a certain kind of cluster, then and that's in the water, that's in plants that are percolating this, you then put it in cement when you make those little cubes. It's the water that makes the cube cement. So it's the liquid, the D cell antimatter is in the liquid that's used to make the cement cell. So when you dry it in the sun and you have that little piece of cement, when you put it in the water, it reactivates the matter in the D cell.
Now this, given what you said, the properties this are, I mean, there must be big companies like ICI and Bayer Chemicals would literally pay you millions and millions of dollars to get this. This must be the most valuable compound in the world ever invented. And so can you explain why we're sitting in this very nice but humble abode, in your own terms, in Santa Monica on a Sunday afternoon, and you're not out there making this stuff available for sick people or for, how do you equate that?
Well, when I became chairman of the Secret Council 10 in 1988, I was able to overthrow the mandate of the Secret Council 10, which was to keep people unhealthy, and therefore they wouldn't allow this out. So they've kept a monopoly on this for years. As we lock down Bob Rule, as illustrated on the T-shirt, then we will be able to make that available to people. But it requires, in the United States, a lot of hassle with the Secret Council 10 controlled FDA and the various government agencies that do want to make money on things that people cannot have naturally. So this could be sold very cheaply and people could have it. It would sort of screw up the ecology of the economy if pharmaceutical companies could not hijack that, maybe pollute it and alter it, and pull off another disease-generating phenomenon.
Right,
So
I'll
we
just-
have to be very careful.
Right. So I'll just recount here. Now, without the proof you
I
say...
suggest that you maybe not broadcast this part, but I'll leave it up to your
Okay.
to
Well,
your,
I'll put... Who wants to take that?
discretion,
There we are.
because it's very valuable, but I don't mind people knowing that there's hope in the future. They may get it in the future.
Right, now I'll just recount what we're doing. Bob here claims to be 71 years old, because I've got to rely on this because it's a visual medium, right? And he's just explained that little tablet, basically the benefits of that, since taking it in 1969, have arrested his aging process. Now, rather sort of conveniently, but I did say the other day I would ask for some sort of proof with an ID or passport of your age, which for various reasons you're saying you're not prepared to furnish. So I'll leave, obviously you've just presented the evidence, we'll let people judge. Now, going on from that, is this D-cell water?
Yeah.
This is D-cell water. Okay, well I'll try D-cell water, okay. It tastes just like normal water. And of course I won't know the effects for many a year. Now,
Paul, I think we should emphasize media ecology. This
Okay.
water, in my particular body, which is discarnate under electric conditions, you can't visualize what I really am in terms of my effects on the software environment situation. We don't want the viewers to be mistaken that Bob is just this.
no,
The body.
before we go on that though, okay, when I came down, I told people here, I've spent 6.5 hours here the other day with you guys, because your theories and the language you use and the books you've written and everything else, they're very highbrow and hard to understand concepts from, and certainly we're not going to even get into it in this, right? We won't be able to
Yes.
absorb it. But you've got an intriguing philosophy and you seem a very sensible guy and a very intelligent guy, and I'm sure that if there wasn't something behind you, I wouldn't have come back here. Now, I'll even pass over the fact that you can't prove to us now that of your age you claim. The third most important thing, apart from Bob's media ecology, which I think is a thing we'll come back to, but it's going to be very hard for the audience to grasp. You intrigued me when you said you are chairman of an organisation called the Secret Society of 10.
Secret Council of
The Secret Council of 10, I'm sorry. So if Kevin, who's holding the camera very admirably at this point, wants to move around, so he's rested a bit, should we take a seat, Kevin? And we're going to get a 3-minute breakdown on what the Secret Council of 10 is. So we sit here? Is this all right? Right, he's nodding. Okay. I'll take the low seat. I like this.
The lighting okay on this?
Yeah, I think it is. And Kevin can do do you want to do a cut, Kevin? Come up or something?
All right, roll up.
Okay. Right, Sunday afternoon in Bob Dobbs' garden, and
One of my gardens.
one of your gardens.
More of a safe house garden.
This is a safe house. What do you mean by safe house?
Well, working on the Secret Council of 10, which you may want to probe, there is a slight level of paranoia between the different factions as we lock down Bob Rule. And
What is the Secret Council of 10?
it is a network of computer signals, or in simple terms, several telephone numbers. And the people at the end of those telephone numbers can implement signaling in the mixed corporate media environment, which affects the economy, the ecology, entertainment, and diseases. So the Secret Council of 10 is an information controlling network.
I mean, a government above all governments, or
Yes, but it's not a hardware bureaucracy. It's when you realize the world has been run since the 40s by advertising, then you know there's a software government. But what is the controlling information that determines how advertising is geared? That is what the Secret Council 10 is. It's an information ecology, which I had maintained while I worked for it since the 40s, as was done and implemented erroneously. And me having taken over the Secret Council of 10 in 1988, I feel that we have a chance to implement the Secret Council's activities more ecologically in a way that no one has ever anticipated before.
is it? So, you said you had some the other day when I asked you about the council. Now, first of all, tell me who the audience will know who's on the Secret Council of 10. One name, because you said that you wouldn't name other people.
Well, I can't name anybody on the television medium. See, this is part of the media ecology, is that they are named on my radio shows. And people...
But you know I'm going to tell them if you don't tell them.
Beg your pardon?
Well, I can say who the other person is.
Well, I deny it because this is media ecology. You only put out certain information in certain media. Now, radio evoked a huge bureaucracy. Because it's acoustic, it has a visualizing effect, an alphabetic effect, and therefore there's much tribal, territorial fighting. On the popular level, the mafia came in with, or various mafias came in with the radio environment, beginning with Al Capone in the 1920s. Because radio is a finger-pointing paranoid environment, then that's the proper medium to name contending factions and leaders of factions. But on television, which obsolesces, the medium itself obsolesces finger-pointing, turns all of man-made language and artifacts into an ecstatic blur, finger-pointing has nothing to target. So you can't name people on the television medium, and just as a simple lesson in Bob's media ecology, I won't name people when I'm using the television screen. But if anybody wants to look into who they are, is go get the old tapes from Dove Entertainment in Toronto.
Right, now, if I say that you told me, you won't name him, but Bob told me that Prince Charles, and in his book, which I know Jerry's holding, Prince Charles, and I know Prince Charles is likely is not watching, won't watch this, but this is broadcasting all over the UK, so someone who knows Prince Charles, asked Prince Charles what the Secret Council of Ten are, of an all-powerful group of people who hold so much information that's of benefit to large corporations, multinationals, and government, above government level, that only he will know or someone else, and it'd be interesting to find out. But
ask him to comment on the memo to Prince Charles in my book, Fatted Communion, and in my CD, if there's something he can comment on.
Okay, so Prince Charles is one of the members of Secret Council of Ten. Now,
Says Paul Watts.
Says me, but says you in a memo. Now, how many years has the Secret Council of Ten been going?
I'd say for most of the Gutenberg Galaxy, which is 500 years. It came out of Venice.
Is it hereditary?
Yes, it came out of Venice, and the Doge and the actual Council of Ten that ran Venice in the time of the Renaissance and the Reformation.
And basically, people who are in the Secret Council of Ten use their membership to obtain information which they could then turn into however they wanted, but mainly for building fortunes. You're saying old money was built through this use of information.
During the Gutenberg Galaxy, Secret Council 10 membership was based on wealth, gold and money, coinage, and bank accounts. But as we moved into the 20th century, there were several, say, coups within the Secret Council 10, because as information took over and money was not the controlling factor and became the poor man's credit card, then information allowed new people to move in, but they had to deal with the accumulated Gutenberg Galaxy members of the Secret Council 10. So it's a jockeying position, it's a musical chair situation, especially in the 20th century or the Marconi Galaxy, where information has control over money. So that's why a situation of myself, as historically my family has been in the service of these ancient wealthy groups, these fondi, and we served as butlers and servants.
So
that
your place came through your hereditary of, you say, in service as butlers and servants, yes, for some of these powerful families. You were then able to maneuver into a position where you were allowed to be on the Council of Ten.
That's right. I was able to take advantage of the decentralized and demobilizing of consciousness by electric conditions, mixed corporate media conditions, and that was where I was able, through information access, to get a position of power.
You used information to know what sort of, did you steal information or give information away or threaten to give information away? I mean, people don't acquire power in whatever sense or privilege without bargaining, and this is what you're saying. So how did you come to be chairman?
Well, if you look at Cronenberg's movie Scanners, if you've ever seen that, the dramatic scene where they have the psychic power battle and the other guy's head blows up, well, think of that as a metaphor for my complex clairvoyance. Because of the psychic part of myself and the D-cell and entities like that the limited members of Secret Council 10 weren't open enough to deal with. Because I had much dexterity on the astral plane, I was able to use information not just in terms of alphabetic image or chemical information. I was able to use the other dimensions, which you can see in my chart on the CD. The called the universal stage. So because I was able to use other dimensional assistants, including the Exes, who are extraterrestrial life forms, they help me do this.
Extraterrestrials, extraterrestrials you're in communication with, and they've helped you, and they're out there?
I'm in a psychic communication with them, and they help me take over the Secret Council of 10, and for the record, I'll say they're from the Bootes constellation. B-O-O-T-E-S.
When ETs is a whole different thing. We've
Yes.
talked to some people in this series about encounters with ETs and their own beliefs and observations. You're saying we're part, therefore, of you support the theory or the fact that we're part of an intergalactic community.
No, we're not part of it. The universe is teeming with life and civilization. We are quite different than other civilizations in other parts of the universe, and we are something they're very curious about, and they don't consider themselves superior to us. They just live in a very different physical environment, and they're very curious about how we operate within our three-dimensional or physically limited environment, so different from their situation.
Now, if you're in communication with these and the information you're talking about, you're part of a very elite group in the world that has, very sort of privileged knowledge. What is your view, or what is your knowledge of what's going to happen in the next 20 years or 30 years with extraterrestrials? Are we, because of the government, you're saying that the Secret Council of 10 is in some ways above and ahead of government policy and actions. How does this fit in with extraterrestrials? Are we going to have a visitation? Is this being lined up?
Yes, it is being lined up, and it'll happen within our lifetime, and it's a very, again, I stress the word ecological. It's a very ecological situation where one intergalactic civilization has to make contact with our civilization, and they have actual ambassadors. That's the term we would use that they mean. They have actual ambassadors trained to interact with us. It's not a matter of them hijacking or abducting people. It's a very sensitive point in our history and their history when they make contact with a new civilization. And it'll be done very, very skillfully and very sensitively.
Did the ETs contact the Council of 10 in advance of government?
Only me. That's the point, is that gave me the advantage in the 80s. And I cannot go into how they made the contact. That could be for future interviews, because I have to release certain information ecologically. I think it's going to be an impact enough just to have this amount talked about on your network. But more information can be released. And it's not the most important information that I deal with, because I deal with the fact that television and the mixed corporate media have subsumed the whole universe as well as our planet. They permeate even into the astral and etheric planes, and mankind has to deal with the effects of the electric membrane. And that's what I stress in my book, Phatic Communion with Bob Dobbs, which is a guide to beginning to understand the importance of the problem I lay before the world and the solution.
Right. We'll give Bob a rest for a second there. And
Roll up.
so, Bob, you're going to show me your book and show me some of these CDs that people have quoted your texts of your writings and radio shows, yeah?
No problem.
Okay. Right, while Bob's going in there, just to recap, in case anyone's wondering, Kevin's just got a very nasty steak, surprise. Bob here is going to show us a book that he's written, which if you're interested you can go and find out, but we're not allowed to do big book plugs on the TV because everyone gets upset. Right, Bob, this is it. Now, it's called Phatic Communion with Bob Dobbs. Okay? What basically
Roll up.
So tell me, Bob, what does Phatic Communion with Bob Dobbs actually consist of? What's in the book? A user's guide. Tell us what's in there.
These are an introductory menu of how I conduct tetrad management on the Secret Council of 10. I use certain concepts and percepts, which are a basis in that discipline, and when we use it on the Secret Council of 10, you have to be flexible dealing with the archetypal schools of thought, and then I'll say something, and then you say, so it's a manual.
Okay, roll up.
All right. Okay, we're rolling. So it's a manual.
Yes, I think that for Lockdown Bob Rule, we have to help people understand the situation I'm in so that I can decentralize so everybody can use tetrad management in their own particular walks of life. So it's an introductory guide to the best of the disciplines we need to understand.
Right, so your book, effectively what it does, it teaches people how to, what in effect, what does it teach them to do? Right, and we'll cut there.
So I start.
Roll up. So what does it teach people to do?
It teaches them to have and develop a flexibility with their senses and their wits. And these have been extended collectively with the media environments that we've developed over the last 1,000 years, so that they are archetypes of our collective unconscious. But they are not abstract notions of unconscious. They are the sensory environments we live in. We are unconscious of the electric water we're swimming in, and therefore this book gives people a reference and a training guide to developing a flexibility of perception and mentation, which is the responsibility of someone in the situation of lockdown Bob rule, which is a shared environment.
Right, so basically it's a benign book to read.
Yes.
And if someone can understand about as much of that as I'm trying to,
Yes.
it could be quite enlightening.
Yeah, it's like Finnegan's Wake. I don't think we have much time to use visual space or the printed word today, so I suggest that you concentrate on Finnegan's Wake in my book as eternal.
And read Finnegan's Wake.
Yes, as eternal reading matter, something that can be explored for the rest of your life.
Right.
Because it's a process, not a point of view.
Oh, there's the man who owns the house. Right. Well, we'll finish there with Bob.
Yeah.
And hopefully we've communicated something there, and I don't know, at this time in the morning when people are watching this, they'll go, what the hell was all that about? Anyway, you can always buy your book. And what's the book called again?
Fat Communion with me, Bob Dobbs.
Bob Dobbs is the author's name, so they can find that in any bookstore. And
No, they can't. They'd have to go through Time Again Productions in Toronto.
Time Again Productions in Toronto, right? So it's unlikely they'll read it, but they might just get spiked. Now, having had their interest aroused, and just to recap in case you just tuned in, Bob here, by the way, was born in 1922. He showed us today, and if you've missed it, you'll have to get someone who's taped the show and watch it back. He showed us the special product that's kept him looking like he is, and his wife, and
It's unfortunately not available.
it's unfortunately not available commercially yet. And Bob is the chairman of the Secret Council of 10, which is a mucho importante and very secretive little
information network.
Right. And so if anyone else who happens to watch this TV, and I don't think anyone in the rest of the council, apart from maybe Prince Charles, who Bob won't say is a member, but I've been told he is a member, is watching the Big E, they might have enjoyed seeing you on TV, giving away a little bit of their secrets, but not too much.
Yes, it's a homeopathic work I'm engaging in, which is a hologram but diluted to homeopathic proportions. It's a very tiny drop in the electric sea, but it has a very powerful demobilizing of electric consciousness impact.
Right, a ripple effect. And the other thing we're going to say, your communication with extraterrestrials, you said they're going to land, they're communicating with people in Earth. Are they communicating with the US government?
No, certain factions in the Secret Council 10, again, the really ruling information network, they have inklings of what's coming.
Oh look, handy workman on Sunday morning. And tell us, if no, we won't do that again. If anyone wants to get hold of you and find out more about Bob's Media Ecology, and they want to learn about the Secret Council of 10 or anything else, you know, what would they do? Because you said you're kind of not in hiding here, but you're kind of laying low.
Well, since I had nothing to do with the recorded products, Bob's Media Ecology and Bob's Media Ecology Squared, but they put them out as interpretations of my work. They're creating an audience for me, and so through their agency of Time Again Productions is how you get to a chance to talk to me.
So you'd have to get hold of a company called Time Again Productions in Toronto, and they've got CD samples of your radio shows and all that stuff. Right. Other than that, I mean, I found you by a long process.
Well, it was indirectly through the CD because the monks, they think that CD is one of the best of '92, and they wanted me for a certain TV segment, but we couldn't connect, and then you met them, and then they sent you to me. So it's a result of the work of Nelson Thal and Dave Neufeld that more people are hearing about me, which is fine and dandy.
Right, and maybe we've lost some people on this. I know, just at this moment they're going, well, what's this guy going on about? But very intriguing. All I'd have to say is I'm still not convinced about the 71 years of age in the work of D-Cell, but that's my part of my nature is a doubting Thomas, a survivalist.
Yeah, that's not
instinct.
that important. Mixed corporate media work, tetrad management, is something that deals with the archetypes of our unconscious, which is, as I come back to the original point I made, this is the new clothing. These are our new lungs, our new arms, our new organs that we are wearing. So an anthropomorphic view of our bodies is not an appropriate and is limited in understanding what these archetypes are doing to us and in understanding how to be more flexible with them. So let's look and understand the clothing that I'm describing that we're all wearing.
Right. And basically a quick word is turn off your TV, turn off your radio, turn off electrical appliances for what, a day?
Well, let's just say television for 3 months. And this is something, the most important point is that the global Esperanto of the television environment is something that bypasses all isms, all issues, all interest groups, and is something all cultures and all people share. So whenever you're in public, point out that you just want to kill television for a few months. And that is something we can all get behind, regardless of where we come from and what our agendas are.
Right. Kill TV, and at that point, goodbye. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks,
I think I've suffered an intense verbal assault of like quite long words, and it's fried my brain at this hour in California here on a Sunday, which is normally a very laid-back environment. But
well, today the art tends toward science, and science tends toward art. So
and they're still watching, so we're going to cut. Bye-bye.
Well, cutaways.
Stuff to be good in a time capsule.
Yeah. This is one of my art sculptures. Yeah, that's probably too much. D-cell water, man. I want to be volunteering around these D-cells. And then you go, well, no, favorite. What's my favorite is that you never go. Did I say that? No, not now. Long time. Oh, you are making. These are real good. Diesel ball. Welcome to Dobbs Town. We've spent many hours trying to interior decorate our minds.
Connie Dobbs inside while the guys are outside. Now, Connie, I won't go into dates because you're both as slippery as fish over this. Now, you've told me you're in your 70s, and because of D-cell water, this miraculous liquid, that you've kind of almost arrested your aging process since you've been drinking it in 1969. Now, why are you living here in this house? And I mean, as a lady, don't you wouldn't you just like to have one of those bigger places just up the coast or around here? What's the score? Why do you put up with the man?
Why do I put up with the place or the man or both?
Both.
Both. Okay, the place, it doesn't mean a thing to me where I am, as long as I'm happy and with Bob, and I'm that when I'm with Bob. And I put up with the man because he's the most brilliant, articulate, ridiculous, outrageous person that I've ever met in my entire life. So I think it's amazing to just be around him. I can get the same effect sometimes when I'm with people, cause synchronicity, cause people to be drawn to me, but that's more in sort of medicine and research and science.
And that's what, and you're working on secret
That's my
research, and that's why you don't want to be on the camera at this moment.
right.
I mean, it's very important research, right?
That's right.
Okay.
So Bob, I mean, we can walk down the street and people be drawn to him like magnets, and he will meet the most amazing people in the world. And
Does he really know Prince Charles, or do you believe in the Secret Council of 10?
well, he has connections to royalty. I mean, I can't go further than that. I have stated before that Bob is one person removed from everybody on the planet, and I really believe that because of the people I've seen walking through my house in various countries and people who are on the telephone all the time.
So, I mean, he is connected. He's a connected person, a player in that sense.
He's a connected person, and I think he's especially connected because he doesn't care. It doesn't faze him one bit who he is or is not connected to. So that sort of vacuum effect actually attracts people to him, and then he can manipulate, use, attach people one to another for the good of the whole world. I think it's amazing.